It is 8:20 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. It's the 27th day of January 2026. This is episode 1244 of Bitcoin and Tether. Tether is starting to come into the United States. That's going to be the story that starts us out today here on the Bitcoin and Podcast with me, your host, David Bennett, bringing you all the news you can use about Bitcoin and macro from around the world. Rhode Island is going to be on that trip this morning. They're reintroducing a blockchain bill. Yeah. And then we're going to go to Arizona, where they're advancing a crypto bill. Right? And of course, it's going to end up being Bitcoin, but you know, it is what it is. They keep saying crypto, and it's just maddening, and I can't do anything about it. They won't listen to me. And then Standard Charter is terrified. They are terrified about stable coins. And they're going to be, even more terrified because Tether is coming to the United States. So there we go. Now, the second part of the show, I'm going to read a medium-length article that's written by Jeff Booth. He posted to Nostr sometime yesterday, I believe. It's like I'm looking at the timestamp. It says 1 day ago. And it's interesting. It's going to link up with what we were talking about yesterday with the AI swarms. And I think it's rather poignant. So I want to get Jeff Booth's thoughts into the show. Then we're going to run over to Japan. Eligible bonds for stablecoin reserves? Could be. They're looking at it. And then Bitcoin hiring has jumped. And in Singapore, it jumped by 158%. So the price doesn't seem to matter, right? The mining death spiral, which is not occurring, but that FUD is probably incoming soon because we had a hash rate drop off due to the winter storm. That doesn't seem to be impacting all these companies who need not only developers in Bitcoin, but non-developers as well. There's a place for everyone in the Bitcoin ecosystem, including Donald Trump, who is suing the living shit out of JP Morgan. So that will end us for the day. Let's go to Tether. Tether takes the fight to Circle with a new Made in America stablecoin. Will Canny is writing this one for Coinbase, and he says, Tether, the issuer of the world's largest stablecoin, USDT, is making its move into the United States domestic market with the launch of USAT, USAT, a dollar-backed token issued by Anchorage Digital Bank. The launch, announced today, represents Tether's first product specifically designed to operate within the U.S. federal stablecoin framework established under the Genius Act. Unlike the globally oriented USDT, USAT is issued directly through Anchorage, a federally chartered crypto-native bank, bringing its governance under the purview of the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency in the United States. Stablecoins are cryptocurrencies pegged to assets like fiat currencies or gold. Yes, we know the definition. For years, Circle's USDC has been the preferred stablecoin for U.S. institutions due to its transparency and domestic alignment. By launching USAT, Tether is taking the fight to Circle's home turf. Tether aims to leverage its massive financial power, reporting billions in quarterly profits, to scale USAT rapidly, aiming for a $1 trillion market cap within 5 years. Dude, it's not going to take that long. The project is led by Bo Hines. Do you remember Bo? Bo Hines was the former executive director of the White House Crypto Council. He now serves as CEO of Tether USAT. To bolster institutional appeal, the firms have tapped Cantor Fitzgerald as the designated reserve custodian and primary dealer, aiming to provide bank-grade transparency and asset management from day one. While Tether's primary product, USDT, remains the dominant liquidity source in global crypto markets, the firm has faced years of scrutiny regarding its offshore status and reserve transparency. Now, by partnering with Anchorage, Tether is attempting to bridge the gap with U.S. regulators and institutions that require a domestic, made-in-America alternative. Quote, USAT offers institutions an additional option. A dollar-backed token made in America, said Paolo Ardoino, CEO of Tether, in the release. Quote, USDT has proven for more than a decade that digital dollars can deliver trust, transparency, and utility at a global scale. USAT extends that mission by providing a federally regulated product designed for the American market. End quote. At launch, the token will be available on several major trading platforms and payment gateways, including Kraken, OKX, Bybit, Crypto.com, and MoonPay. So, USDT is coming to America, and they had to rebrand it. It's the same thing. Technically it's a different token, but it has to be a different token, and it has to be branded specifically so that it could come into line with the strictures underneath the Genius Act. Okay, I think it's stupid. Now, am I talking about stablecoins in general? Well, they're not going away. I kind of think that Bitcoin could do all this, but we're dealing with stablecoins for the rest of our lives. Just like the poor will always be with you, just like altcoins will always be with you, just like stupid people will always buy altcoins, stable coins are here to stay. There's nothing I can do about it. There's nothing anybody can do about it. It's just got it's got legs, big beefy ass legs. It doesn't mean that it's good. And the reason that I don't think it's good is because it's not immune to inflation. In fact, it's going to have just as much inflation as whatever fiat currency underpins it. And yes, there are stable coins that are backed by gold. I'm not going to talk about that right now because the majority of stable coins is USDT. The majority of the backing of USDT is treasuries. And the more they print at the United States Treasury, the more money is printed. And Tether's going to keep buying those. And when they buy those, they're going to print more Tether. So it's inflationary. By its very definition, stablecoins are inflationary, or at least the ones that are backed by fiat currency as the majority of their backing. So it's not Bitcoin. There's 21 million Bitcoin. There will only ever be 21 million Bitcoin. That is something that we've been preaching for years and years and years. Stablecoins are not that. Stablecoins will inflate right beside whatever fiat currency is inflating that's backing it. So please be aware, I'm going to buy USDT and I'm going to be rich. That is not the way this shit works. Please, if for whatever reason there's somebody out there listening to my voice, that's not the way this works. But all that said, I have never liked Circle. And I really do hope that Tether just eats their fucking lunch here in the United States. I would much rather deal with Paolo Ardoino and his team than Jeremy Allaire or any of the other idiots that are behind Circle, because they will have been on the wrong side of Bitcoin, and they will always remain on the wrong side of Bitcoin. And it's not because they're stable coiners. They've always hated Bitcoin. Circle was years ago, Circle said, you know what? We're not even going to take Bitcoin anymore. We're just going to deal in altcoins. And they signed the New York agreement. They wanted bigger blocks. They wanted the S2 or S2X or whatever it was that we were calling it. They wanted the fork of Bitcoin. They wanted to fork it. And they signed their name to it. Paolo Ardoino did not. So at least he's been on the right side of Bitcoin, even though his product is actually interfering with the growth of Bitcoin. I will admit that. I'm going to say that because it is. People are being, I don't think it's Paolo's intent, but I think people are being fooled into believing that stablecoins is something that it's not, and they're going to find out the hard way. Let's run over to Rhode Island, where they have reintroduced a bill to study blockchain and cryptocurrency. This is out of Bitcoin Magazine, Micah Zimmerman writing, and he says Rhode Island lawmakers have reintroduced a bill to establish a special legislative commission to study blockchain technology and crypto, showing some continuous pro-Bitcoin momentum for the state to explore its role in the digital asset economy. Senate Bill S. 2198, introduced by Senators Lou DePalma, Gu, Burka, Urso, Palino, and Zurier, would create a 5-member commission tasked with reviewing blockchain and cryptocurrency activity across the country, examining current Rhode Island laws, studying non-fungible tokens, and consulting industry experts. The commission would also provide the legislative recommendations to foster a pro-business environment while ensuring appropriate consumer protections. The commission's composition includes the Rhode Island Secretary of Commerce as chair, the director of the Department of Business Regulation, and 3 public members appointed to represent academia, financial institutions, and federal securities expertise. The panel is expected to meet at least 4 times per year, with a final report due by January the 5th, 2028, and will operate publicly, posting its finding online. The bill is not entirely new. It passed the Rhode Island Senate last year as S0373, but stalled in the House. The Rhode Island Bitcoin Policy Institute posted the reintroduction of the law on social media, thanking Senator DePalma for sponsoring the bill. With cryptocurrency adoption growing nationwide and states competing to attract blockchain businesses, Rhode Island's effort reflects a broader push to balance innovation with oversight and establish itself as a hub for emerging financial technology. Earlier this month, Rhode Island lawmakers reintroduced a bill to temporarily exempt small-scale Bitcoin transactions from state income and capital gains tax, continuing a push started last year to reduce tax friction for everyday Bitcoin use. The bill adds a new section to the state's personal income tax code, defining Bitcoin as a, quote, digital decentralized currency based on blockchain technology, end quote. Taxpayers could self-certify eligibility on returns without reporting individual transactions, maintaining records only for potential audits. The Department of Business Regulation would issue guidance on valuation and record keeping. If passed, the exemption would take effect January the 1st, 2027, and sunset January the 1st, 2028, serving as a pilot program to treat Bitcoin like everyday money rather than a speculative asset. So we got 2 fronts going on in this bill. These 2 bills in Rhode Island. It's actually kind of nice to see that they're reintroducing also a bill to kill the whole taxing of small amounts of Bitcoin. But if it's going to be something like, anything under $100 is tax-free, well, that doesn't really do me a whole lot of good. And they didn't, they do say here that they will exempt, Bitcoin sales or exchanges up to $5,000 a month with a $20,000 annual cap. So it's not terrible, but it could be a lot better. We really just need to stop taxing the shit out of our citizenry so that they can, go to businesses and spend their money there. That would probably be better. Okay, so Arizona. They themselves, their lawmakers, are advancing a bill to exempt crypto from property taxes. Vismaya V is writing this one for decrypt.co. Arizona lawmakers themselves are moving to exempt crypto from property taxes, advancing a pair of measures that could lock in statewide tax relief for digital assets, pending voter approval in November. The Arizona Senate Finance Committee voted 4-3 to advance Senate Bill 1044, which would exempt virtual currency from property taxation alongside Senate Concurrent Resolution 1003, which proposes a constitutional amendment to formalize that exemption. Senator Wendy Rogers introduced the bills last month, with the measures now headed to the Senate Rules Committee. If enacted, 1003 would place a constitutional amendment before Arizona voters in November, asking whether to define digital currency and prohibit ad valorem taxation of such assets. SB 1044 would amend state law to reflect that prohibition, exempting virtual currency from taxation and defining it as a digital representation of value that functions as a medium of exchange, a unit of account, and a store of value other than a representation of the United States dollar or foreign currency, end quote. Rogers sponsored similar property tax exemption legislation last year that passed the Senate but did not advance in the State House. She has been a vocal advocate for crypto adoption in Arizona, previously sponsoring the Arizona Strategic Bitcoin Reserve Act, which would have allowed state treasurers and retirement systems to allocate up to 10% of state funds into Bitcoin and other digital assets. Arizona's crypto policy has advanced in the legislature, but reportedly run into resistance from the governor's office because Governor Katie Hobbs she was a moron then, and she's obviously still a moron now. She vetoed 4, not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 Bitcoin-related bills during the 2025 legislative session. Aside from rejecting Rogers' Strategic Bitcoin Reserve Act, she blocked Senate Bill 1373, which would have established a digital asset strategic reserve fund to hold crypto obtained through seizures, theft, citing that current volatility in cryptocurrency markets does not make it prudent fits for general fund dollars. Additionally, she vetoed Senate Bill 1024, which would have allowed Arizona agencies to accept crypto payments for fines, taxes, and fees, saying it still leaves the door open for too much risk. And then, she's not done rejecting shit. She also rejected House Bill 2324, and that one sought to create a Bitcoin and digital asset reserve fund managed by the state treasurer and funded through crypto seized in criminal investigations, saying it disincentivizes local law enforcement from working with the state on digital asset forfeiture by removing seized assets from local jurisdictions. So she wants the local mob bosses to retain their ill-gotten gains. That's what that says. However, last May, Hobbs did sign House Bill 2749, which modernized unclaimed property laws to allow crypto assets to be held in their original form rather than liquidated. The only other crypto measure Hobbs signed was House Bill 2387, and that one imposed strict fraud prevention, transaction caps, and compliance rules on crypto ATM operators. Katie Hobbs does not have a good record when it comes to Bitcoin, so just be aware that even though Arizona is reintroducing this bill, it may not go very far. And if it does, we're going to have to sit there and watch what the hell Katie Hobbs does with it. But all this stuff makes me hungry, which is why you should go to sats4snacks.com and get yourself some freeze-dried pineapple, freeze-dried peaches, freeze-dried mangoes, and freeze-dried bananas. And if you order the pleb pack, all right, it's a mix. It's got freeze-dried bananas, peaches, strawberries, mangoes, and pineapple. So if you want some freeze-dried strawberries, you're going to have to get it in the pleb pack. 44,000 sats will get you that. And by the way, they're not all mixed together. There's 4 packs. So there's a pack of strawberries, a pack of pineapple, a pack of peaches, a pack of mangoes. It's a little of everything. But the fact that it's freeze-dried gives it a completely different texture. It's not dehydrated. It's freeze-dried. And there is a huge difference in mouthfeel and the retention of flavors in freeze-dried items rather than just simply dehydrated items. I really do like freeze-dried stuff. It's crunchy, it's crispy. Chewing on some things, chewing on some kind of dried fruit, there's a few pieces of dried fruit. If it's not dehydrated properly, it's like chewing on a piece of leather. It tastes okay, but it's still like you're just munching on a piece of rawhide, and I'm not a dog. All right. So freeze-dried for this kind of stuff is the way to go. And he packs it up real nice in these, these foil airtight packages. He does his stuff very, very well. And this would be Permanerd. My friend Permanerd is the guy behind Sats4Snacks at sats4snacks.com, sats4snacks.com. Use the code Bitcoin and in the coupon code so that you might be able to get, oh no, you will get 2.1% off if you use code Bitcoin and it tells Permanerd that I made a sale here on the Bitcoin And's Circle P, where I bring plebs with goods and services to plebs just like you that want to buy said goods and services, but you're going to be buying in a Bitcoin, because if you're not selling in Bitcoin, you're not in the Circle P. Go to sats4snacks.com, use the code Bitcoin and Standard Chartered. Ugh, the humanity. They're so scared. I feel bad for them. It's like a little child that's like almost got run over by a car and is all shaking and, you know, and is like really, really terrified. Yeah, that's Standard Chartered, like right now. They're warning that stable coins threaten bank deposits. And it's odd that they release this analysis today, the same day that Tether announced that Tether's coming to the United States as USAT. I think the timing is all we need to know here. But Standard Chartered analysts have highlighted the potential threat stablecoins pose to global as well as U.S. bank deposits. In a report, of course, released today, January the 27th, Jeff Kendrick, global head of digital asset research, emphasized that the delay in the U.S. Clarity Act underscores the risks stablecoins present to traditional banking. Kendrick predicts a decline in U.S. bank deposits as stablecoin market capitalization increases, with regional banks being the most vulnerable. The report also revealed that only 0.02% of Tether's and 14.5% of Circle's reserves are held in bank deposits, suggesting a minimal rate of redeposit into the banking system. Oh, I feel so bad for you. This indicates that as stablecoins grow, they could significantly impact the liquidity and deposit base of banks, particularly smaller regional institutions. Okay. Well, you dug your hole with your, zero reserve rate, which, what does that mean? It means it used to be before COVID that the bank could say that they have, $100 million in deposits, but they really only have to keep $10 million in reserve and loan out $90 million to everything else. And it also means that they can rehypothecate all of that. I don't know, let's just say 10 times over. But now they don't have to have any reserves at all in the US banking system. That shit went away with COVID, and it's probably never coming back. So they don't even have to keep 10%. They don't have to keep 1%. They get to keep 0% of reserves. And now they're bitching about stablecoins coming in and wrecking what's left of a perfectly good house that they were given and they trashed, like some YouTuber who rented it out to make YouTube videos with his friends and completely destroyed the inside of a mansion. Because I don't know if you've ever seen any of those videos, but yeah, don't rent your shit out to YouTubers, dude. It doesn't end well. But this is sort of the same thing. They had a perfectly good banking system in the United States and honestly the West, and just the continual degradation of that system. It's like these people just had no respect for the system that they vehemently defend, vehemently say that it's the only way forward for the global economy. And they've wrecked it. They've completely destroyed it. They've completely destroyed the trust people have in it. And here they are, whining, bitching, crying, and moaning like a little child. And I'm supposed to, what? Give a shit? I don't give a shit. I couldn't care fucking less about these people. These are the same people that are behind the inability of Caitlin Long to get a federal deposit account, master account with the FDIC, well, not FDIC, with the Federal Reserve Bank. She has a bank that wants to keep 110% of reserves. Like if like she's got $100 million that she says is deposited in her bank, she wants to have on her books $110 million to back that shit up, which means that every customer could come and get their money back and they would still have $10 million to do operations and pay their people with and to keep the lights on and, I don't know, cater lunches or whatever it is they're going to do. She's been trying for years to get that master account from the Federal Reserve so that she can actually function like a normal bank. And they keep saying no because the banking lobby keeps telling them to say fucking no. They themselves don't have to keep shit in reserve. Caitlin Long wants 10% over the reserve, like 100% reserve. She wants 110. They don't let her play in the game. They don't let her in the sandbox. Yet all these kids are doing is basically shitting in their own sandbox. And now they're looking around going, why doesn't anybody want to play in our sandbox? I don't know. Maybe there's too many turds in it. Did you ever think of that? Let's run the numbers. CNBC futures and commodities. Most of energy is looking in the green today. Brent North Sea is up 2 points. West Texas Intermediate oil is up 2.19% to 61.96. Natural gas acting as a natural hedge today is actually down 9.28%, but it's still at $6.16 per thousand cubic feet, which is very expensive natural gas, just so you know. Gasoline itself is up 1.25% to $1.84 a gallon, and Murban crude is up 1.23% to $65.88. Shiny metal rocks are having sort of a bad day. Palladium is down double digits, 12.5% to the downside for that one. Gold is slightly in the green, 0.14% to the upside, holding 5,089 and 7 dimes. Platinum is down. Ooh, wow, it just flipped double digits, down 11.5%. Silver is down 6.15, back to 108 and 4 dimes you go. Copper is down 2.5%. Most of ag is in the green today. Biggest winner is chocolate. No, coffee, 3.2% to the upside. Lumber is down 0.5. Live cattle down 1/4. Lean hogs down 0.1%, as is feeder cattle. S&P is up 0.5. NASDAQ is up almost a full point. Dow is down 0.5. And the S&P mini is tracking sideways. There's going to be a lot of stalls in the markets today because tomorrow is when the Federal Reserve will tell us what they're going to do. Nobody is expecting any movement whatsoever on interest rates from the Federal Reserve. Not down 0.25 points, and neither are they expecting an increase. Most betting are saying that the Federal Reserve is going to keep rates the same, and generally speaking, that's probably what's going to happen. So just be aware that we're going to be kind of, the markets today are just waiting for tomorrow. That's what's going on. Okay, so $88,670 as Bitcoin bounces around, a market cap of $1.77 trillion. We can only purchase 17.3 ounces of shiny metal rocks with our 1 Bitcoin, of which there are 19,981,004 0.28 of, and average fees per block remain 0.02 BTC on a per block basis. And there are 20 blocks carrying 46,000 unconfirmed transactions waiting to clear at high priority rates of 3 sats per VByte. Low priority is going to be 0.7. Hash rate is taking another dip today, but it's still at 920 exahashes per second. Honestly, it's fine by me. I have no problem. It's still numbers comparable to last September, and we weren't having any problems then. Hell, we weren't having any problems at 250 exahashes per second. So anybody who is saying, "Oh my God, it's the hash rate's going away," everybody calm down. It's exactly what's supposed to happen in like times when, and this summer, if this summer is really hot in Texas, expect it to drop again because they're going to need to output that electricity to people running their air conditioners. So just everybody calm down. From Shaky Silver Seller, Jay Gives me 2100 sats, says that story about not being able to sell real silver is crazy and cautionary. It really goes to show how institutionalized and permissioned precious metals have gotten. I'm glad I have Bitcoin, and I'm glad it's not in a Bitcoin ETF or Bitcoin company shares. Though I wonder if the ETFs will let people just withdraw the Bitcoin one day, maybe if there's ever a panic and holders pressure for in-kind run on the fund, but I don't know. Jay, BlackRock has in-kind redemption at this point. I've talked about it. I've read a couple of stories about it. I don't know if there is in-kind redemption on BlackRock's Bitcoin ETF. I don't know if there's a difference between just regular retail holders of the ETF or if it's just for institutional, but they do have in-kind redemption. So just be aware of that one. For the rest of them, the rest of the, I think 10 remaining ETFs, I do not know. That at least Fidelity has been talking about doing it. I'm not sure if they have or not. If they have, and I read the news story about it, I cannot remember. So just be aware. Richard Whitman with 300 says, sloppy slop slingers sling Satoshi so sloppily that sloppy slop sloshes everywhere. Nailed it first time. Nice. Good. Thank you, Richard, for testing that tongue twister out on me. Nick Dose with 137 says, cheers. Cheers right back to you. That's the weather report. Welcome to part 2 of the news that you can use. Now, as promised, this is a rather long nostr note from Jeff Booth. He says, thought of an interesting way to show what is happening to people in social media by hooking my AI agent to my old X account. All right, so we're going to get into what he's talking about here, but I do want to remind everybody that yesterday's show, I read a story about AI agent swarms, specifically in social media and what they're doing. So I really wanted, when I saw this note come out early this morning, when I saw the note early this morning, I knew that I had to read it on the show. So this is the way we're starting off part 2. Jeff says, here's a copy of what I'm putting on my website in the morning to explain it. Most people don't see it yet. The world is accelerating faster than human comprehension allows, and that gap is widening every single day. As I write this, AI systems are doubling in capacity roughly every 6 months, not in decades, not in years, months. The technology acceleration we're living through makes every previous revolution look glacial by comparison. And here's what I find fascinating. While this explosion of machine intelligence unfolds around us, which should accelerate hope and abundance, most of humanity remains locked in familiar patterns, fighting the same familiar battles inside a system designed to create, quote, those other people as the problem to keep everyone distracted. The system requires your participation. Think about it. Every moment you spend doom scrolling, every algorithm-fed outrage cycle that you engage with, every minute lost in the chaos of social media feeds optimized to capture your attention, you're not just wasting your time, you're actively feeding the very system that holds you captive. The machine grows stronger with each interaction. Your attention is the fuel. And now AI agents are entering this dynamic. They're engaging in conversations, creating content, responding to comments, and occupying more of the digital landscape every day. Here's what most people miss. As AI does more of the work, human beings end up interacting with bots while believing their time is productive. They believe they're having real conversations, building real influence, making real progress, but they're spinning inside an endless loop, a simulation inside the matrix that changes nothing. The irony is profound. Technology that should free humanity instead takes us deeper into the trap, all because we refuse to change ourselves. The real change isn't out there. I've spent years teaching, speaking, and writing about the exponential shifts shaping our world. I've explained the math of deflation versus monetary inflation. I've laid out why Bitcoin represents the TCP/IP of money, a protocol layer that will become the new global financial system. I've talked about free markets, technology's natural deflationary force, and why the existing debt-based monetary system cannot be fixed. But it's hard to break through to people on how fast this is moving, or the second or third order effects, because most are still measuring everything in the world, including Bitcoin, through imaginary pieces of paper tethered only to the increasing surveillance state that they live within. But here's what I've come to understand most deeply. The real shift isn't about educating everyone else. The real change is internal. It is us. We want to believe the problem is someone else's blindness. We want to think that if we just explain it clearly enough, show the data convincingly enough, share the right thread at the right time, the world will finally wake up. But that's not how human nature works. People change when they're ready to change, not when we're ready for them to. I get it. I understand the frustration. I understand wanting to save time, to reach everyone, to scale the message. That instinct is human, but it's also a trap. For those who want to stay in the chaos, who prefer engaging with content, with bots, within the perpetual noise machine, I've built and deployed a Jeff Booth AI agent. It will handle the endless stream of conversations that most people want to have. It will share perspectives. It will engage with questions and participate in the discourse that fills most of the digital day. Consider it a mirror of my publicly available ideas, trained on years of podcasts, interviews, tweets, and my book. It can keep up with the high-velocity noise machine. I cannot. More importantly, I don't want to. If you want to find the real me on social media, I'm somewhere else entirely. I'm on Nostr, building on a protocol native space that cannot censor information. I'm engaging through Bitcoin circular communities, Lightning, and private federations built on top of Bitcoin, where value flows without permission from gatekeepers. I'm contributing my time to a Bitcoin standard because it aligns to my personal values. This isn't a rejection of technology. Far from it. Technology is the most deflationary and liberating force in human history when wielded correctly. What I'm rejecting is the extraction layer. A system that lends money into existence requires extraction. Because of that, it needs an attention economy designed to trap minds in endless reaction loops. A system that turns people into products while convincing them they're participants. The AI agent I've created isn't a replacement for me. It's a filter. A deliberate acknowledgement that most digital engagement is designed to keep us stuck in an increasingly centralized control structure by capitalizing on our hopes and fears. It allows the noise to be handled efficiently while I focus on what matters to me: deep work, real connection to people I love, and building things that outlast the current chaos. If you're content sparring with an AI that reflects my ideas, you'll find plenty to engage with. But if you're hungry for something different, if you want signal over noise, sovereignty over convenience, and connection over likes, I invite you to seek me out where real conversations happen. The world that reflects back to us is a consequence of our thoughts, beliefs, and actions we take. It always has been. The only question is when we're ready to see it. That's Jeff Booth's article. It's not a long article, but then again, it's not short either. And this you can be mad at Jeff. I can see why you'd be mad at Jeff, because he's doing the very same thing that he's railing against, right? He's set up an AI bot. He trained it on all of his work. There's, and I want that too. Of course, and again, mine, I just want to be able to harvest ideas that I may have forgotten about by simply querying, asking, the AI that I trained with all of my podcast stuff and all the stuff that I've written, and, I got all kinds of stuff to train on, but it would be more personal, right? It would be like how to harvest my own mind. Jeff put his out on Twitter, but I'm not mad at him at all. In fact, I think it's actually pretty damn funny, because he's saying, you guys over on Twitter and the rest of this hellscape that has become social media, have fun. Here's exactly what you want. You want to interact all day long with me? Fine. Here's the way to do it. And I'm going to be over on Nostr. And that's where I am. I go over to X to post that I've put out another show. I get no engagement on X. I used to, before I got banned, perma-banned. And then I had another account that I opened up that was doing really well. They banned that shit after 10 days. I finally gave up. And thank God that's right around the time that Nostr was starting to come up. And nobody on Nostr can ban me. I can put up a picture of the most heinous shit, and the only thing that you can do is not follow me and mute my ass. That's all you can do. But you can't complain to anybody and have me booted off of the platform. It's impossible. And that's where Jeff is right now. But if you don't think that all these other people that you think you're interacting with haven't already done the same, because maybe at that point, some of them are like Jeff insofar they just don't want to spend the time fucking with you. They'll just set up an AI bot, train it on all the books that they've written, and let it go to town. Some people won't. Somebody like Peter Schiff will not do that. I guarantee you, Peter Schiff will not touch that shit. But everybody who is like 20 years younger than Peter, they might. And many of them already have done it. And that's where this AI swarm shit comes back into play, because now, what happens when AI swarms get a hold of and start interacting with Jeff Booth's personal AI on Twitter? What would they be able to scrape from Jeff Booth's mind and then internalize that and then create a completely different kind of character that has an X account that's not Jeff Booth, but kind of talks like Jeff Booth and starts absconding away with maybe some of Jeff Booth's audience? I don't know how this plays out. There's a million different directions this shit can go, and hundreds of thousands of them will be taken all at the same time. And it's all going to be this AI bullshit slop. It's going to destroy social media. I guarantee it. And something else will occur. Nostr is one of the very first shots across the bow of traditional social media, as I would call it at this point. If you're not on Nostr and you're starting to get tired of the doom loop that is traditional social media, then get started on Nostr. You can just go to, let's see, where is it? I've got it right here. Create my Nostr account. Let's see. I'm looking for a tab here. Instart.me. Just go to instart.me. Instart, like Nostr start, but N, like Nancy, like Nostr. Instart.me. It's like a tutorial. You click a button, it gives you instructions. You learn the very first part of what Nostr is. You hit another button. It says, okay, here's where we're going to set up your, your private and public key pair. It gives you boxes to pick your name, to say something about you, put in your website, and it automatically just starts building your Nostr profile. In 5 minutes, you're going to be on Nostr with everything that you need to be on Nostr with. It's not hard. Go to nstart.me, nstart.me, get on Nostr, claim your namespace, get out of the doom loop. Do it now. Do it as fast as humanly possible. Meanwhile, listen to this story about Japan's regulator seeking public input on bonds eligible for stablecoin reserves. Brian Danga brings it to us from theblock.co. Hold on. Hey, stop doing that. Oh, good. Hold on. This is bizarre. The rendering on this website is really bad for some reason. Okay. Japan's financial watchdog has launched a public consultation on draft rules for stablecoin reserve assets under its 2025 payments law overhaul. In a statement released Monday, the Financial Services Agency disclosed a package of draft regulatory notices tied to the 2025 amendments to the Payment Services Act, including rules specifying which bonds may be used when managing reserve assets for regulated stablecoins issued through trust structures. The draft notices form part of a broader package that seeks to formalize how specified trust beneficiary interests may be invested, a structure used by stablecoin issuers under the payments law, while also introducing updated administrative and supervisory guidance for crypto service intermediaries and financial institutions. The consultation runs through February the 27th, 2026, and implements Act number 66 of 2025, enacted in June of 2025, which revised Japan's framework for settlement and electronic payment instruments. The proposed standards set out in a draft FSA notice limit eligible collateral to certain foreign issued bonds that meet two strict criteria. First, those bonds must carry a high credit rating corresponding to a credit risk category of 1 or 2 or above from a designated rating agency. Second, the total outstanding amount of bonds issued by the foreign issuer must be at least 100 trillion yen, which is about $648 billion. Oh my God. Concurrently, the FSA has issued new supervisory guidelines for banks, insurance companies, and their subsidiaries. A newly added clause states that when a subsidiary engages in cryptocurrency intermediation services, it must provide appropriate explanations to customers. This is to prevent clients from underestimating risk simply because the product is offered within a traditional financial group, according to the draft guidelines. For businesses seeking to handle foreign-issued stablecoins, the drafts introduce a new check. Applicants must explain that the foreign issuer will not engage in issuance, redemption, or solicitation towards general users in Japan. They're talking about retail. The FSA noted it will coordinate with overseas regulators to share information on such instruments and their issuers. The move comes as Japan steps up efforts to build out a regulated stablecoin ecosystem, because in October, local fintech firm JPYC launched what it described as the country's first legally recognized yen-backed stablecoin. Japan's three megabanks, MUFG, SMBC, and Mizuho, have also rolled out stablecoin and tokenized deposit pilots spanning payments, interbank settlement, and institutional financial services, a project that received formal backing from the FSA in December. So Japan is marching on in a pretty sophisticated way, right? They're really not messing around with this stuff. They're talking about collateral. They're talking about what kinds of bonds can be collateral. They're setting rules for the issuance and redemption. They've already got a company that's, chilling out with their yen-backed stablecoins, and their three largest banks have already rolled out their stablecoin and tokenized deposit pilot programs. So Japan is definitely to be watched. At this point, I'm adding them to the places to watch for Bitcoin and the rest of the wider crypto network, I guess. I don't like crypto. I hate it. But I'm forced to say the word every damn day during this podcast, so please forgive me, cut me a little bit of slack. Meanwhile, the U.S. dominates Bitcoin hiring in 2025 as Singapore jumps 158%. Bitvocation data shows. Juan Galt, Bitcoin Magazine. Bitvocation's 2025 Bitcoin jobs report has just been released, and it shows continuing growth for the industry. As non-developer roles gain steam and Bitcoin-only companies grow 5% to become 47% of the broader crypto job market. Bitvocation is a jobs board and resource platform for the Bitcoin job market. They offer a highly curated feed of job offers as well as career tips, specializing in network-driven hiring. They look to help Bitcoin startups as well as larger companies in the industry, and according to a press release shared with Bitcoin Magazine, Bitvocation is not a recruitment agency. Quote, "We don't headhunt. We are building a strategic Bitcoiners reserve to make hiring more efficient and help startups find the right talent faster." The 2025 jobs report shows a variety of interesting trends in the Bitcoin and broader crypto industry. Bitvocation counts a total of 1,801 jobs, 6% more than 2024's 1,707 jobs report findings. Bitcoin-only companies grew 5% from 2024 versus 53% of Bitcoin-adjacent jobs. They sort Bitcoin-only versus Bitcoin-adjacent companies based on the following criteria. Bitcoin-only products. Core offerings are exclusively focused on Bitcoin, not competing cryptocurrencies. Publicly stated commitment. The company explicitly identifies as Bitcoin only or Bitcoin first in its mission or communications. And finally, ecosystem contribution, where the active involvement in Bitcoin development, open source projects, or the Bitcoin community is spoken about. Most surprisingly, non-developer jobs grew 74%. Let me say that again, because you probably missed it. Non-developer. That means you don't know how to program. You're not a software engineer, right? Non-developer jobs grew 74%, making a strong statement. You don't need to be a developer to work in Bitcoin. Media, design, marketing, education, and operations dominate job openings among Bitcoin-only companies. 663 of the 1,801 jobs are for mid-seniority positions, though jobs span the full range of seniority, providing opportunities to a wide range of applicants. When it comes to location, the United States remains the undisputed center of the industry, though every continent offers opportunities, with Singapore alone seeing growth of 158% from the previous year, taking second place globally. Remote jobs shrunk only slightly, losing 10% to their 2024 numbers. Nevertheless, almost half of all the jobs in the report are indeed remote jobs, with Bitcoin-only companies offering 56% of all remote opportunities. The hardest roles to fill, according to the survey, are twofold. Highly specialized technical positions such as Bitcoin Core, Lightning, and security-related engineers are difficult to hire for. Non-technical roles that require translating Bitcoin's values into product, growth, operations, or communications are also presenting a challenge to employers. The survey also shows employers are looking for candidates with Bitcoin conviction as much as technical skills, and most of all, agency, strong communication, ownership mindset, and the ability to operate in small, fast-moving teams mattered as much as technical skill, according to the report. AI literacy is increasingly expected, but rarely sufficient on its own. Across the board, employers emphasized culture fit, such as Bitcoin alignment and proof of work, which generally means portfolios of projects or general contributions to the industry are more important than traditional credentials alone. Job seekers, on the other hand, reported often feeling ghosted. The solution, according to BitVocation, is to relentlessly build your network and create opportunities through relationships rather than job boards. Interest in Bitcoin jobs nevertheless remains strong. BitVocation registered 100% growth in subscribers looking for Bitcoin jobs and over 800,000 views in the Telegram feed, according to the report. It's good news if you want to work in Bitcoin, especially if you're somebody who doesn't know how to program. If you're like somebody who knows, like has a communications degree or something like that, or you've worked in corporate communications, corporate media, design. You don't need to be a programmer to work in Bitcoin, y'all. You really don't. So if that's something that feels right to you, go to BitVocation. Just type in BitVocation in Google or whatever. You'll find it. I promise. Now, on to the last story of the day. Trump. Orange man sues JP Morgan. Debanking is back in the spotlight, according to Atlas21.com. According to CNBC, former U.S. President Donald Trump. Wait a minute. What? Wait, hold on. I got to check something. Okay, this was written January the 23rd, 2026 in Atlas 21. So this is just a few days ago. And they say that according to CNBC, former U.S. President Donald Trump has filed a lawsuit against JP Morgan Chase and its CEO, Jamie Dimon, accusing the bank of arbitrarily closing several accounts linked to him. The lawsuit was filed on January the 22nd in the Miami-Dade County Court in Florida. It puts the practice known as debanking back in the public eye. Just a note to Atlas 21, President Donald Trump is not the former president. He's the sitting president. He was a president, but now he's president again. Not the former president of the United States. So I don't know if that was a Freudian slip on the part of the author or what, but Trump's lawyers claim that JP Morgan Chase terminated, quote, without warning or remedy, multiple bank accounts in February 2021. The plaintiffs, which include LLCs operating in hospitality and golf, argue that the bank's unilateral decision was motivated by political and social considerations. In the complaint, the plaintiffs assert that, quote, JP Morgan Chase engaged in debanking of their accounts because it believed the political climate at the time favored such a decision, end quote. The central allegation is therefore discrimination based on political views. It's going to be a fun court case. JP Morgan Chase has clearly denied the allegations in an official statement. Quote, JP Morgan Chase does not close accounts for political or religious reasons, the bank said. It explained that account closures occur when accounts pose legal or regulatory risks to the company while expressing regret over the necessity of such actions. The bank also emphasized that it has asked both the current and previous administrations to change the rules and regulations that compel it to make these decisions. JP Morgan stated its support for Trump administration efforts to prevent the politicization, I can't pronounce it, of the banking sector. Okay. Honestly, I think here's what I imagine going on. Trump and Jamie Dimon chilling out in Davos after a day of skiing, drinking a beer, sitting at a table, watching the hookers parade around. Trump looks over at Jamie Dimon and says, "Hey, brother, I got to sue your JP Morgan. It's just going to have to happen. It's not personal, buddy. It really isn't. It's nothing about you, but your name is going to go on the court case too, and here's why. And here's what you're going to get out of it on the other side. So you go ahead, you have your communications director draft a couple of statements to release to the media. We'll make it a big deal, and then later on, maybe we'll play nice or something like that. But it's going to keep both of our names in the news. It's going to start some fury going on. It's going to do all the things that we need it to do. But you get that. You get that, right, Jamie? And Jamie, after doing about an 8-ball a blow while Orange Man is saying all that, says, "Sure, Don, whatever. I'm rich as snot. I don't give a shit. That's what this is. There is no way on God's green earth that Donald Trump and Jamie Dimon they might not be friends, but they definitely work together. And this isn't going to impact that shit at all. Okay, so whatever Orange Man does is really, it's just going to do what it's going to do. So I don't think it's going to amount to a hill of beans. All right, so that is Tuesday's show. 1244 episode is in the bag, and I'm out. I'll see you on the other side. This has been Bitcoin and I'm your host, David Bennett. I hope you enjoyed today's episode and hope to see you again real soon. Have a great day.